very good day to all you patriots out there, and welcome back to Tall Ship Tuesdays. I am Captain John Paul Jones. If this is your first time making our acquaintance, welcome aboard. Kindly watch the introduction video to help you get your sea legs. Now, I do hope you'll enjoy the special content the crew and I have prepared for you this week. When last we met, I had shared with you the story behind the changing of our uniforms after I had left my command as Captain of Providence. The crew and I had been sailing aboard Alfred and the company of Providence, and we had taken Mellish together. A few days after, a severe storm blew up, and Providence, which had been taking on water for several days, was put into a perilous position. It is there I resume the story. I had sent Lieutenant Philip Brown of Providence aboard Mellish as prize master, and given him very detailed orders of how to proceed. His departure was served to intensify the concern by the rest of the crew about the condition of Providence. On the 14th of November, Captain Hacker received a note from his 8 remaining officers, warning him that the pumps were being manned constantly, and that a quarter of the crew was sick, and that should they encounter a severe gale, the ship would be greatly endangered. I was made aware of the situation while our 2 vessels were anchored off of Louisburg. Knowing the importance of our mission's objective, I made an impassioned plea to the crew of Providence. Their countrymen were being held prisoner, I reminded them, and forced to labour in the coal mines of Nova Scotia. Well, we could not be certain that they were being ill-treated. They were surely being forced to work against their will. Was this rescue not reason enough to brave the wintry seas? Were we not fighting this war for the freedom of all continentals? This was an opportunity to rescue the brethren and free them just as they were trying to free the country. Now, I flatter myself to say that when I believe a cause is just, I can speak quite eloquently and convincingly at that, and in this particular circumstance it worked, and Captain Hacker had determined to continue on course with us. Alas, a few days later, a severe snowstorm blew up, the type of gale that the crew of Providence had been afraid of. I ordered the 2 vessels hove to, and alas, in the morning, I discovered Providence had gone. It seems that at some point during the night, Captain Hacker had weighed anchor and set a course for home. I had learned later that 2 weeks after, the sloop had sailed into Narragansett Bay, being kept afloat by just the pumping of their pumps day in and day out, barely afloat. I must admit that I might have underestimated the severity of the situation, and I was not a small bit of fury I responded with when I discovered that, as I had perceived, they had abandoned our cause, a cause which I believed to be quite righteous indeed. Now, Providence, upon reconsideration, I realised may not have been the most seaworthy as it was. Knowing how hard we had sailed her for the previous 6 months, and remembering my own comments about how perhaps she was not in the best condition, I did determine that Captain Hacker did not act improperly in his decision. However, this nonetheless does not lessen the situation happening in Nova Scotia. I determined to continue northward, to rescue those men serving in the coal mines. After I had made this announcement, my own Lieutenant Rathbun came to my cabin and told me that the members of my own crew now were concerned about the severity of the weather and the safety of the crew. You see, I was now in quite the similar situation to that of Captain Hacker. But I determined that the rewards of a successful mission greatly outweighed the risks involved. Within a few days, it was to our good fortune that we managed to make prizes of 3 colliers. We learned, unfortunately, from their crews that the men in the coal mines at Nova Scotia had determined to free themselves by enlisting in the Royal Navy. And thus, our mission came to a rather sudden end after all. Have you ever been in such a situation in which you determine that the path you are taking is the right one and just, but certain circumstances arise that may endanger yourselves or those around you, and you're not certain how to proceed? Should you follow the course you had set already and follow your mission to its proper end? Or is it necessary to reconsider, perhaps turn around, go home, carry on about your lives? I must admit that in my case, I much prefer to see a situation to its end, as I crave the satisfaction of a job well done. However, I also see the opposing side, and it has been placed in front of me that as a man with no wife or children or even property to my name, I have much less to lose than many of the other men. So I do ask that the next time we meet, perhaps you will share with me your own views on the situation and perhaps what you will have done in your own time. I thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you again back here next week. A very good day to you.